So finally, the Trump Supreme Court. How about that? Doesn't that sound nice? The Trump Supreme Court. Oh, we've done so many good things. Some weak people. Kavanaugh still seems sort of weak. But boy, oh boy, you know, promises made, promises kept. I'm not even president. I mean, I am, but I'm not. And my Supreme Court is still doing incredible work. It's incredible to see our country still getting better just because of the things I did. And affirmative action, bye bye. And this is great because affirmative action was one of the most racist policies I've ever seen anywhere. I remember, and I knew he had a good one. It was the first time I ran into Clarence Thomas on the street. I didn't know who he was. I didn't pay much attention to the Supreme Court. I had models and a beautiful, sexy daughter, by the way. And he bumped into me by accident, but I still said, "Watch where you're going." And then I said a word that starts with N and ends with R, and that they say you can't say anymore because we've gone totally woke. And he looked back at me with a lot of dignity and said, "It's Mr. N-word." He said it the full way. And I thought, wow, that's a guy who's very proud, very strong, a lot of dignity in that man. And I knew that if we could give the Supreme Court to somebody like that, give him a leadership role, we'd be in good hands. So today, the wokeness, the racism of affirmative action is gone. And we love that. We love that very strongly. And it reminds me of the first time because, as you know, I went to Penn, which many people think is the best Ivy League, if they forget about three or four of them, which I didn't want to go to anyway. I thought it would be too easy. So I said, let me go to Penn. And I remember, first off, when my father paid an Asian kid in Queens to take my SATs for me, I said, that kid's very smart. He should get into school instead of some of these undeserving people of color. Look at this Asian guy taking my SAT. He got a great score. And I said, he's not going to Penn with me. Why? Because of people of color stealing a spot from him. And then I remember when my father was writing the check to bribe the admissions department at Penn, a African American couple, would be nice, walked into the office to rent an apartment from him to buy. I think they even wanted to buy. Who knew they had that kind of money? And they wanted to buy an apartment. And as my father, the great Fred Trump, was signing the letter and the check to bribe Penn admissions to get me in on my own merits, he looked at this couple and said, "Get the hell out of here. We don't rent to your kind." And I thought, look at my father, not giving any breaks to people based on race. He wasn't going to have them in his building just to do affirmative action. So even though they had the money and wanted to live there, he said no because he was not woke. He was ahead of his time. And then he mailed the check and the letter to bribe admissions so I could go to Penn. And that's how I became on the path to greatness. Total merit, totally not racist. We finally did it. The Trump Supreme Court. Bye bye affirmative action. Hello, total merit.